We continue now at the top of Daf Pei Gimel Amud Aleph in Meseches Bava Kamma. This is Bava Kamma Daf 83a. On the previous summit, the Gemara said that Chachmas Yavonis, the wisdom of the Greeks, is prohibited. And the Gemara asks, is it really prohibited? But we have a Brisa in which Rebbe says that in Eretz Yisrael, Lashon Sursi Lama, why is it that they speak the Syriac language? Oh, Lashon HaKodesh, either they should speak Lashon HaKodesh, they should speak the holy tongue, or Lashon Yavonis, or they should speak the Greek language. So it seems like the Greek language is something that is positive. V'yamar Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Yossi says, Bava Lashon Arami Lama. What's the reason they speak Lashon Arami? They speak Aramaic in Bavel, or Lashon HaKodesh, either speak the holy tongue, or Lashon Parsi, or they should speak Persian. And the Gemara says, Amri, so they answer to this question. It seems like, again, Lashon Yavonis is fine over here. And they answer, Lashon Yavani l'chud, Chachmas Yavonis l'chud. There's a difference between the language of the Greeks, that's fine, and the wisdom of the Greeks, that's already a problem. And Rashi says, Chachmas Yavonis, the wisdom of the Greeks, has been a paltin hakrovim lamalchus. That was spoken by people who were close to the government, Misaprin, but those are the people that spoke that. And again, that is problematic. But the Gemara continues, V'chachmas Yavonis mi'asir, but it's Chachmas Yavonis. Is that really prohibited? V'yamar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, but Rav Yehuda said that Shmuel said, Mishum Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, in the name of Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. The pasuk says, in Eicha, Eini ololo lenafshi, my eye affected my soul, mikol ben osiri, from all of the daughters of my city. And Rav Shimon Gamliel applied that pasuk as follows: Elef Yeladim Hayu b'Beis Abba. There were 1,000 children in the house of my father. Chamesh Meos mehem lamdu Torah. 500 of them learned Torah. Chamesh Meos lamdu Chachmas Yavonis, and 500 learned the wisdom of the Greeks. V'lo nishtayir mehem ela anikan. And the only ones that remain are myself here, uven achi Abba ba'Asya, and the son of the brother of my father in Asya. In any case, you see that they learned the Chachmas Yavonis. And the Gemara says, Amri, the sage's answer to that, Shani based Rebbe Gamliel, Shayukrovim Lamalchus, it was different. The house of Rebbe Gamliel, they were close to the government. That's why they had to speak Chachmas Yavonis. Uchidatanyan, it's like we learned in a Brisa, Hamisaper Komi, somebody who gets a Komi kind of style haircut. Hare Zemi Darche Amori, that kind of style is the ways of the Amori. It's something that's forbidden. However, Avtulmas Baruvain, when it came to Avtulmas Baruvain, he tirul l'saper Komi, they allowed him to get that kind of haircut, Memneshu Karv Lamalchus, because he was close to the government. And similarly, Shalbeis Rabban Gamliel, he tirul lehem l'saper b'chachmas Yavonis. In the house of Rabban Gamliel, they allowed them to speak with the wisdom of the Greeks, Memneshu Krovim Lamalchus, because they were close to the government. And the Gemara continues with the two dots. The Mishnah said, Lo yegadel adam es hakelev elim ken kasha b'shal shalos v'chulu. It said a person shouldn't raise a dog unless it's tied up in chains. And the Gemara says, Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Lo yegadel adam es hakelev elim ken kasha b'shal shalos. Again, a person shouldn't raise a dog unless he ties it with a chain. Aval megadel hu be'ir hasmucha l'sfar, but he is allowed to raise it in a city that's near the border. And in such a case, v'kosher bayom, he should tie it up during the day, u'matziru b'layla, but he could leave it untied at night. Tanya, we learned in a Brisa, Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol Omer, Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol says, HaMegadol Klavim Kemegadol Chazerim, anyone who raises dogs, it's like raising pigs. L'may nafkamina, what difference does that make? L'meikom aleh, it means that the person should be cursed. In the same way one is cursed for raising pigs, so too by raising dogs. Amar Rav Yosef bar Menyumi, Amar Rav Nachman, Rav Yosef bar Menyumi said that Rav Nachman said, Bavel ki'ir hasmucha l'sfar dami, Bavel is like a city that's near the border. And the Gemara explains, Tirgam Nahardai, you can explain that as referring to Nahardai, which was an area near the border. And the Gemara continues, Darash Rav Dustoi, the min Biri, Rav Dustoi from Biri Darshan as follows. The pasuk says, Uvenucha Yomar Shuva Hashem Rivavos Alfa Yisrael. When it came to rest, he said, Return Hashem Rivavos Alfa Yisrael, which the Gemara understands, L'lamedcha, to teach you, Shein Shechina Shora al Yisrael, that the Shechina does not rest on Klal Yisrael Pachos, Mishnei Alafim, Ushnei Rivavos. If it's less than 2,000 and 2 myriads, a myriad is 10,000, less than that, you won't have the Shechina. And so the Gemara says, Chasar Achas, let's say you're missing one person. V'aisa Isha Muberes Beineim, and then imagine that one woman is pregnant among them. U'ru'uy l'hashlam, if she gives birth to a child, that's going to complete the number that one needs for the Shechina. V'navach b'keleb, but then a dog barks at her v'hipil, and she miscarries. Nimtza zeh gorim l'Shechina shetistalach Yisrael. It comes out that this dog caused the Shechina to remove itself from Klal Yisrael. And the Gemara continues, there was a woman who came into a certain house in order to bake. Navach b'kalba, a dog barked at her. Amar lo mare, so the owner said to her, Lo testafi mine, don't be afraid of it. Shakule nive, because its canine teeth have been taken away. Amrale, so she said back to him, Shkili tivusech, take your favors, v'shadya chizre, and throw them on the thorns. Kvar nod v'lod, the child's already moved, meaning there's already been a miscarriage, it's already too late. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, "Ein porson nishvin liyonim v'chulu." It says you're not allowed to spread traps for the pigeons unless you're 30 ris away, which is a large distance away from any settlement, so you don't end up trapping ones that are privately owned. And the Gemara says, "Umi azli kuli hai." Do the pigeons really travel that far? But we learned in the Mishnah, "Marchikin es hashovach min ha'ir," that the dovecote, you have to distance it from the city, chamishim amma, just 50 amos. It doesn't have to be such a large distance. And the reason why you're distancing from the city that amount is because we're afraid that the birds are going to go and eat from the crops of the city. So it's got to be at least 50 amos away, indicating they only travel 50 amos. And the Gemara says, Amar Abaye says, Meshat Shaiti Tuva. They actually do travel very far, much more than 50 amos. However, Karsayu b'chamisha ma'amamalya, but they fill their stomachs after just 50 amos. So that's the only concern in terms of when they're going to eat crops from others. But in terms of the traps, there you have to be careful even a further distance from the settled area so that you won't trap birds that are privately owned. And the Gemara says, Umeshat shloshim ris v'sulo, but did they travel just 30 ris and no more than that? V'atanya, but we learned in a brayso, b'yishav afilu mea mil lo yifros, that if you're in the settled area, even 100 mil, if you're even that distance, 100 mil from the yishav, you shouldn't spread the traps, and 100 mil is much more than the 30 ris. And the Gemara gives a few answers to this question. Rav Yosef Amar b'yishav kramim. Rav Yosef says that if it's an area where there are vineyards, it actually travels further. As Rashi says, it goes from vineyard to vineyard. Rabba Amar b'yishav shovchin. Rabba says that we're talking about an area where there are a lot of dovecotes in the area, so it can stop at each one of the shovchin and each one of the dovecotes, and that's why it can travel a long distance. But the Gemara says v'teipak le mishum shovchin gufayu. But if you're going to say that there's yishav shovchin over here, so then of course you can't spread the traps, because the shovchin themselves, we should be afraid that you're going to trap the birds that are in those shovchin. And the Gemara says, if you want, I could say it's a yishav shovchin, but they're all owned by non-Jews. So since they're all owned by non-Jews, that's not a concern to trap those privately owned birds, and therefore the only concern again is going to be the ones that are 100 mil away that are from the Jewish people. Or you could say that these shovchin are ownerless, so again that's not a concern. It's not privately owned. The only concern is going to be the one that's 100 mil away. Or if you want, I could say we're talking about the person spreading the traps. He owns these shofchin, so those are not a problem. And again, that's why the problem really was just from the 100 mil. Hadran alach meruba. We'll return to you, Parak Meruba. This is the end of the 7th Parak of Meseches Bava Kamma. If you're enjoying these videos and this channel, please like, share, and subscribe, and take a look at the description box below to see how you can support this channel. And we will begin in the next video on Daf Pei Gimel Amud Beis, the 8th Parak of Meseches Bava Kamma.